Welcome to our luxurious digs here at League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys here for a little LCK power ranking action. And the LCK season so far has been a little bit nutty with all these rookie teams coming in, all the what you thought would be perennial favorites hanging out towards the bottom of the standings. But one thing has been certain throughout the entire split, and that's Griffin being far and away the best team in Korea, and that's why they're in at number one. Mark was trying to argue against it. He didn't want them first. And I was like, Mark, I don't know. There's no reason not to.
Hey, we can make up stories about a lot of things here, but you can't make up any stories about anybody wanting to have anything other than Griffin at the top of an LCK power rankings. There is no doubt that this is the best team in Korea right now, the most polished team in Korea right now, and the one that you're saying, hey, you want to win Worlds, you're going to have to run through this team.
And despite what some members of G2 might be memeing about,
Hearsay.
Griffin looks like the best team, not just in Korea, but the best team in the world right now. Probably one of, if not the biggest surprise so far of the spring split has been Sandbox Gaming, who were in at number 2. They were right behind SKT last week. Even though they beat SKT, we still put them ahead. But if you can take a game off Griffin, which nobody else has done yet in the spring split, and even game 1 was kind of close for a bit. Game 3 was a smash, but I mean, Sandbox, they've beaten SKT, took a game off Griffin, they've beaten Damwon, who was their main rivals. When do we have to say this team's for real?
Hey, they're for real. We're saying it right now, and you should be saying it for the rest of this split because they've shown enough that they are going to be here and they are going to be competitive in this split. Absolutely a playoff caliber type of team here in the LCK so far. And what you want to really cue in here on what we were expecting is you were expecting this to be less polished than Damwon Gaming and Griffin specifically. Again, these type of challenger teams that come in and step up and are ready to challenge right away the established powers here of the LCK. And Sandbox Gaming, well, they are right up to the task. And yes, we saw some little bit of weakness in the game in week 1 on how they would approach objectives like the Baron control and whatnot. But I think that has absolutely been cleaned up in the last few weeks for Sandbox Gaming.
And with Peanut struggling on Genji, specifically on that Lee Sin, On Fleek has stepped up as the premier Lee Sin player, it looks like, in Korea right now. He's fantastic on that champion.
He's been pretty good, but I don't want to discount my boy Clid on SKT. That is also a very good Lee Sin here in the LCK.
Yeah, and he put that Lee Sin against Hanwha Life for a 2-0 for SKT. That's why they round out that top 3 despite getting completely bopped by Griffin in their earlier matchup. SKT still looks like a rock-solid team. They're obviously still going to be a playoff team. They're not at the level of Griffin right now. They need a lot more time to develop some synergy with this squad, but they're still in the top 3.
Still in the top 3, and a lot of positive signs still as an SKT fan. If you had to take that loss against Griffin pretty hard, even if you expected...
A lot of lessons to be had there.
Even if you had been expecting it to be the 2-0 victory from Griffin, the way that it happened, you'd be a bit shocked and surprised. But here, hey, that bounce back for SKT this week, the performance against Hanwha Life, who seems to be a team that will contend here for the playoffs, and the performances from the players like Clid and Mata, that was very important for SKT in that series.
Yeah, and Han was a top 5 team still. They're 3-3. Yeah, I'm worried they're just going to miss out on playoffs for a 3rd straight split. One of the biggest climbs of the week is Kingzone. They went 2-0. It was not convincing by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like that is an underwhelming 4-2 squad. Deft has been absolutely incredible. Pawn, when he's not playing Talon, has actually looked much better than I was expecting him to come into this split. But Kingzone comes in at number 4, and they were a team that has been struggling. So big climb from them. Damwon, what happened? They started 2-0, Mark. Now they lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, right. Rough week, though, for Damwon Gaming, especially considering some of the opponents that they were going up against. But when you really do look at the performance for Damwon Gaming, I think they've slipped up just a little bit as far as their control. And especially I want to bring attention to the draft. I think the draft for Damwon Gaming, I think that's where they need to make a couple tweaks, and I think you can find some more power for your lineup.
Yeah, there's no doubt they have the talent to be better than that record shows. Genji up a couple of spots to number 7, ahead of KT and Afrika, which people might kind of say, what? How do you have Genji up here after that mess that they played against Kingzone, but they did take down KT. That series was very much Ruler versus BDD, and then the next series was very much Ruler versus Deft. It's kind of a theme here. In 4 out of the 5 wins that Gen G actually has, it's been Ruler who gets MVP.
It's kind of crazy that we've been actually spending a lot of this time talking about Kingzone and Deft as maybe, this year's version of Teddy on Jin Air, just stuck in elo hell trying to carry everybody. It might be Ruler this time, and that's kind of a weird thing to say for a lineup that's got Peanut in the jungle and other things. But Gen G, I think they've shown enough here to earn this spot here on the power rankings, and I think that there still are positive signs for this roster that they can move around here and try to have a better half here in this splits.
And this loss to Kingzone, they probably should have won that series. There was a couple of throws, Peanut, some highly questionable plays. I don't even think it's questionable. It's beyond that, the flash into that Baron pit. But they should have won that series, and then that probably changes these power rankings quite a bit. But Kingzone squeak away with the win there. KT avoided going 1-5 with their win against Afrika. They won the head-to-head 2-0. That's why they're in at number 8. But aside from BDD and really Zenit and Snowflower, they've been pretty decent for KT, but that top side of the map continues to be an issue.
Continues to be an issue, and that is the question here. Who are we going to be seeing taking over that role? Are we going to get Smeb back in? And that's what a lot of people want to have happen here, but you got to remember that Smeb's most recent performances for KT Roaster have not been the type of Smeb performances we know he's capable of, so we need to see that return to form for him, returning to the lineup. And then when you move down to number 9, Afrika, this is really disappointing given their lineup and what you think they could be able to accomplish. I think they do have some potential to maybe make a climb out of this spot here.
AP Jarvan.
Right, given that they are willing to play something wacky like an AP Jarvan, switch things around here, and they do still have a lot of talent with Keen and UCal, but I have not seen it come to fruition yet in this season.
And they seem set on having Spirit playing support. He keeps rolling up in games playing there, so maybe they're comfortable with it. What's going to happen? What's more likely? Griffin goes undefeated or Jin Air doesn't win?
It's so hard. I'm going to say Jin Air goes winless.
They look pretty bad. That's why they're 0-6, and they are number 10 on our power rankings. That's all the time today for League Unlocked. Eric and Mark with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.